Hi there, guys. This is our extend and deepen reading for this week. So, as you know, we're looking at dot deduction and detective conjecture, and we are using our inference skills and predicting using the text, so using the evidence in the text. Now, we've got quite a tricky text today, with it being extend and deepen. It's always the challenging part of the week, isn't it, for our reading? So, we've got a book called Aberrations: The Beast Awakes by Joseph Delaney, and I'll be honest, I've never heard of this book before. Um, I'm going to read it to you. Follow along, or you can read it yourself. But a heads up, it is a little bit tricky today. So, Crafty was listening to the whispering from his brothers' graves. Ooh, that's a bit of a dark start. He sat at the three-legged table, watching the shadows slither slowly towards him and staring at the far wall of the darkening cellar. Leaning against that far wall was a tall, decrepit, narrow cupboard, which without the wall support would long ago have collapsed. Once it had been well stocked with food. Now the cupboard was bare. We're now down it. We're now here, look. Crafty had checked it every hour or so, but whenever he'd carefully pulled back the wooden doors, groaning in agony upon their rusty hinges, it was empty. He'd left the cupboard doors open now to save himself the trouble of checking, but he was sure it would never fill itself again. The magic controlling it, a porter spell that instantly sent objects over long distances, had finally faded and died. Benign fey magic never lasted long here within the shoal. Here it was malevolent magic that ruled. And I've underlined malevolent because we've used that word in class. You might be able to work out what that is. Crafty shuddered just to think of what lay outside the cellar walls, and then hunger made his stomach rumble. At least there was a fire to keep him warm and fend off a little of the cold and damp. All that remained now were glowing embers, the last of the wood from the beds of his dead brothers. Oof. We're down here now. Where are we? Here. Taking his eyes off the cupboard for a moment, he glanced round at the large wooden bookcase on the other wall. One of the shelves was sagging under the weight of the books that were so precious to him. He had read them over and over again to keep at bay the tedium, that means like tedious, so boring, of life in the cellar. Although many were gone now, fed to the fire to keep it burning, there were some he couldn't bear to sacrifice. These were the gardening books that had belonged to his mother. A lump came to his throat as he thought of her. She'd been dead for almost a year now, but the pain of her loss was still there. He missed her badly, and the happy home she'd made for him and his brothers. But now he had to leave everything behind. He had to leave this refuge. He had to leave it or starve. Crafty didn't want to go. He wanted to stay here, with the memories of his mother and his two dead brothers. Brock and Ben had been twins, 2 years older than him. They'd been good to him, looked after him, so it didn't scare him when they whispered to him. Sometimes he would kneel on the earthen floor and place his left ear close to their gravestones, listening carefully, trying to hear what they said. Sometimes he heard them calling his name. "Crafty! Crafty!" they whispered. So a little bit of a strange text there. Links very closely to our other text because it's the genre is fantasy. It's because there's definitely magic involved in this world, in this story. But a little darker than the other one. We've got a boy who's on his own and his family members have died. So, have a look at the text, have a look at the questions, and see how you get on. Remember, a lot of these answers might be I think and because, but you've got to use the text. You've got to think why using the text. Okay? So pause your video, have a little look, and then we can go through some potential answers. Okay, right. I'm going to get started. So, number one. Don't forget, your number one doesn't have to be that one. Shadows slithered towards him. What does that tell you about the fire he has with him? So, the shadows slithered towards him. Here you go, watching the shadows slither towards him. Now, later on, we know he's sat by a fire. So, if shadows are slithering towards him, well, slithering is a very slow, kind of menacing movement, normally used to describe a snake, which is quite feared by a lot of people. So, if the shadows are slowly coming towards him, but he's got a fire, I think the fire is slowly dying. And the shadows are getting and therefore darkness is getting closer, or is creeping closer. There you go. Or something along those lines. Again, because it's Dr. Deduction, you're using inference, you might have a slightly different answer. As long as you've got some evidence, I'm going to find it very hard to argue with you. Number 2. What impression do you get of Crafty and his family? Okay, well, we've got quite a lot about his family here. He's whispering to his he's listening to his brothers. There's a big one here about he couldn't bear to sacrifice some of the books. They were books that belonged to his mother. And then on here, his brothers, they'd been good to him, they'd looked after him. Also, it's, there's a cupboard that was full of food and well stocked. A refuge is somewhere where you hide or stay safe. So, there's a lot of information there. But I think that his family was very close. And they helped each other. And then you can simply put in, you can insert, you can copy out a bit of retrieval. Something, I would probably, I would probably do that one there. They'd been good to him, they'd look after, because it says his brothers had been good to him, they looked after him. And you might want to find another one, or that might be fine. Right, next one, number 3. Number 3. Why do you think he's always checking the cupboard? Now that it does hint to why he's checking it. So he's checking it in kind of this part here. Once it had been well stocked, now it was bare. He checked every hour or so. He'd left the cupboard door open now to save himself the trouble, but he was sure it would never fill itself again. The magic controlling it, a porter spell. Now a porter is moving something, isn't it? So in a hotel, a porter is somebody who may bring you something. Instantly send objects. So actually, maybe this is a bit more retrieval. So, he's checking the cupboard. To see if the porter magic has refilled it. Oh, has refilled it. Don't you say cupboard again? Has refilled it with food. There you go. So maybe that's a bit more retrieval, but you've still got to work. Yeah, you've still got to work out the clues that are there. Okay, I'll get rid of these answers there. Number 4. Do you think Crafty likes fey magic? Do you think Crafty likes fey magic? And is it good or bad? What evidence? Sorry, I've got an extra word in there. I'll get rid of that. Hang on. Scribble that out. Do you think Crafty's fey magic is good or bad? What is your evidence? So it talks about fey magic. It's up in this little section here. Fey magic never lasted long here. Here it was malevolent magic. I think the clue is the word malevolent magic. Now we know malevolent means evil, cunning, pretty evil. Okay, so that's evil magic that ruled. So, for number 4, I'm going to put, I think fey magic is good because it says that there's also an evil magic out there. It sounds like he's almost hiding away from this magic because he's clearly in somewhere called the Shoal at the moment. Which leads to number 5 actually. So number 5 is Crafty hiding here, or does he live there? Now, I think this is a tricky one because there is evidence that they've lived there. Because, the cupboard was full of food, they've got lots of books there that are precious to him. But it says down here that it's a refuge. Now, a refuge is somewhere that you hide for safety. Not necessarily your home, but it can be your home. My other thing that makes it think it's not where they live. Oh, no, no, sorry. The one thing that makes it think that it is where they live is they've got lots of books with them. Now, if you were on the run, if you're running for your lives, if this is what they're doing, why would you carry shelves and shelves of books with you? So, obviously, I don't know the answer to this because I don't know the story. So, this one's very much, it depends on your evidence. Some of you might say, I think this is where they live, they're at home because of this and this. But some of you might say, I think I think this is just where they're staying because it says this or because it says this. So question 5, I'm going to let you decide because I think you could be correct because you've also got, it says that he's burnt their, where is it? He's burnt his brother's beds. Well, they could have made those beds in this refuge, but it could be that there's no real yes or no definitive thing. You've kind of got to go with your inference. So number 5, I'm going to see your answers for and see if your evidence backs up your idea. Number 6, do you think Crafty has any powers, or is he just in a world of magic? Again, this is why they're the blue ones. This is why I've put them as trickier ones. I don't think there's a definitive yes or no answer with these, because we don't know enough of the story. It's how you've inferred the text. Some of you might read this, and there might be something that makes you feel like he has magic. There might be others reading this, and you read it, and there's no clue that he does have magic. It might be that magic is just in the world that he's in. So again, I'm not going to commit to say there is a right or wrong answer, but for both of them, it's about your evidence. Okay, and that will make your answer correct or not. All right. So, well done with that one. I think that's quite a tricky text to pick apart and understand because we've not got a lot of the story context at all. But very well done with that, and thank you for having a look at your reading lesson today. Very, very, very well done.